allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Everyone had a chance to read them. Any additions or corrections?
Mr. Starbucks, can I make a suggestion before you take a vote or make a motion on that the planning board make a motion to designate Mr. Starbucks as the acting chair tonight?
I'll make a motion to designate Mr. Starbuck as chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's one negative.
You can't have one negative, you need all four votes.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, the agenda for tonight, I have four things on, 14 Ridge Road.
Sorry, yeah, go back to the minutes
I'll
again.
make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The four agenda items, 14 Ridge Road, cul-de-sac determination, 10 Plant Lane, the riser. We're not gonna do anything with the riser thing tonight. There's some issues that gotta be settled. The Creek Road cell tower, the determinant, date for a public hearing. There's some issues on that, so we're not gonna discuss that tonight. And then draft, minor subdivision on Lockville Road. There's one issue for new businesses, Crown Mountain Solar on Circle Road. So let's start with Ridge Road.
Good evening. My name is Dan Peters, Captain Discipline Trading. Here to represent the applicant. Thank you.
Chuck, you were gonna do, you had some thoughts on the cul-de-sac?
Oh, on the cul-de-sac count, you guys will see in your packets a very poorly colored display showing the cul-de-sac count in separate cul-de-sacs. Everybody got that? So we have one cul-de-sac for High Meadow Road, another for the Fox Hollow would be the next one, and then on up to the Knoll. In the other sheet that you have that has the dates of the housing stock in that region, you'll see on that drawing I have indicated what the roadway widths, which are of particular importance. And the roadway widths are 24 foot right at the end of High Meadow, the start of the of Ridge, and then it drops down to 22 after Fox Hollow, I believe, and then 20, and then it goes on to after the Knoll, and then 16 onto the Ridge. The rest of the Ridge is 16, as well are the cul-de-sacs of Fox Hollow and the Knoll. So the determination is they are not above the cul-de-sac number. We also have, I think, previous to this, in the last meeting, I also handed out where they plow to, what we actually maintain on Ridge Road. Got another copy of that if you guys want to see that.
So just to clarify, sounds like the determination of the building department is that a waiver is not needed from the town board for
The development.
exceeding the number of permissible lots on a dead end or cul-de-sac road. Is that-
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
All right, I was up there today. And Ridge Road is a 2-lane road up until to the corner where your property is.
Okay.
Beyond that, it appears to be a 1-lane road.
Okay.
And then the 2 cul-de-sacs are both 1-lane roads. And when I hear cul-de-sac, I think it's a drive-in or the circle, you drive out.
Not here.
These are, you go way back to, I Googled it, so if you go way back, the cul-de-sac is just a dead end. Now we think of cul-de-sac with a circle again that come around. So these are just dead end streets. So when I was exiting, well, I was parked right by your lot. I met the highway superintendent. So I went in, I made the corner and I went in all the way into the end and I came up to a house that has a circular circle in front of it. Right, that comes back out. Well, the circle goes right up to her garage door.
Are you, done?
Way at the end, whatever the end house is.
This one here, it goes in and then turns around in here.
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah, there are Kellyans. It's the only 2 that have a loop.
well, it's not the big fancy house on top. It's the
You're talking about the one at the very end?
very
Yeah,
end.
number 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next door, yeah.
Oh, right, you can see it on the aerial.
The town went in there and plowed it with a truck and tore her along all they just made a mess in there. But he said this superintendent said the roads the snow was heavy, they're having a lot of trouble. Should have been done with a pickup, but conditions being what they were. But it's a single lane road going in there. It's not there's 2 or 3 houses in there already. But where your access to Ridge Road is a 2-lane road. So I was talking to him, and he said what he needs is a turnaround. Because I said, how do you plow like Fox Hollow and the other one? I says, you drive in and back out? He said, no, we back in and plow out. There's no place for them to turn at the end of those, which isn't your problem, but it's
Right.
the nature of the beast down in there.
Yeah.
And it's the same problem beyond where you want to put your driveway. There's no way to turn around if the person at the end says you can't use it.
Well, it would be here, the driveway would be here. Basically a straight shot on the Ridge Road.
Right.
This is pre-existing, I mean, they do.
Right, but if the person at 16, at the end of Ridge
Up here
Road
at 16,
says, you're tearing my lawn up, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to back out.
right,
He doesn't have any way to turn his trucks around.
Right.
So he was looking for a turnaround at the end of your driveway so that they have a spot to turn the trucks around to get out of there.
You can always use our driveway.
Well, I think it needs to be a little more than a handshake like this.
Oh, yeah,
these are, that's it,
we're the owners.
they're the owners.
Okay. So that's where I'm at with it. There's a lot of houses in there. I guess we're all right as long as Chuck's all right with it, but I'd like to see a turnaround there for the plow trucks.
Where would you like to see this?
Well, and then somebody above my head.
Are you talking about, right at lot 16 and the driveway to, Rao? Is that where you?
Yeah, right in that corner there, where when you go around that corner, it becomes a 1-lane road.
Right here.
Right there, and it's a 1-lane road.
Okay.
So he was hoping to get a turnaround where you come on to Ridge Road. Yeah,
Or turn around on lot one.
on the lot we're working on right now.
Yeah, what does that do for him to turn around there? He still has to maneuver and get in and out beyond there, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, because they currently plow right up to,
Because they plow right
Yeah,
up
they
to
plow
lot
right up to
16.
5.
Right now, he's can turn around there, but if they decided they don't want him to do that, which I don't know if they legally can, but he would have to back all the way out of there. And then he would have to back down to Fox Hollow or to turn around.
Yeah, it'd
There's
be-
no place to turn around.
the Knoll would be the next one, yeah.
This is when you use that lot, Dave, to turn around so you can back up that road? Is that why he wants to turn around here? Let's turn around here.
We can't, I don't think we can go in on somebody else's. We
Well,
want,
we can't compel him to put a turnaround
right,
on that. It's not under the control of the lot or the lot being
he wanted to turn around and
divided.
If the existing infrastructure in that area is insufficient to support an additional lot, then that's one issue. But if the infrastructure is sufficient to support that extra lot and there's an existing condition that makes it difficult for the highway superintendent to turn around, then that's a different story.
I would say it's borderline being sufficient infrastructure in there to add a lot, because the roads are narrow.
There's 2 lanes on Ridge Road right to
This lot,
this lot.
So right here, in one lane.
So the infrastructure is sufficient to get to the subdivided lot.
And after that, the lanes are 16 foot.
that's generous.
And that's, the 16 foot runs up the Knoll and it runs up Fox Hollow as well. Yeah.
Well, I was
But
in
it's
there,
funny how it's shown with the cul-de-sacs in here, but they're not there.
No.
They're not there.
I asked him how he plows those other two, and he says he has to back in and plow out, he can't turn around.
No.
So if he loses the ability to turn around at the end of Ridge Road, well, he's gonna have to back out, and then he's gonna have to back down Ridge Road, find someplace to turn around.
Mhm.
So where's he turning around right now, Dave? In this lot?
You go in here, and on this lot, there's a circle.
Yeah.
But the circle goes right up to the person's garage door, and it's right.
So
Well, the
back
turnaround
way down
doesn't
here?
have to be a cul
No, he goes in, he can turn around.
Yeah.
He goes, does this one down here, he backs in and plows out. They can't, there's no way to turn around.
So again, how does this turnaround help him?
Well, in case he has to back out of here, he doesn't have to back down here. to turn around.
So that, in my mind, I'll just say it, my concern right now is that adding a lot isn't creating that situation. But if the roadway is an issue that causes concern about creating a new lot there, that's one thing. But if, discontinuing the ability to turn around where they turn around now, it's not really related to this application. The other thing I'll say is there's only 4 members here tonight. And, you may want to take that into account in terms of a vote, because you need 4 votes in favor of any action. So I'll just point that out.
If you don't get 4 votes, you're done. Your project.
Well, do you have the ability to put a circle, turn around there for them? To satisfy the highway department?
I just don't know how that helps the access beyond that point. It doesn't do anything to help you beyond there anyway, Dave.
we're confused as well, because we're listening to you and we're like, one thing, like he said, one thing has nothing to do with the other. I mean, if we still own the property and you say, can we put in a turnaround? I don't think we would have a problem with that. I don't think that the person who wants to buy the property would either, because it's two of our neighbors that are interested. One wants to build on it and one does not. So there's a pretty good chance, the one who does not has already made the offer. So there's a good chance that no, he's not gonna even build on that.
So
He just
you own the
wants to-
big house on the top of the hill?
Yes,
I probably wouldn't have brought it up except the highway guy was there.
yeah, I know, and I know
Is there
what
any
you
way
mean.
they can use a different, like pick up to plow that section?
He said the snow was such that they were using big trucks.
That was a bad.
I mean, typically, like, that was a big,
I'm not,
I'm just asking.
I know, I was like, what do you do? Use a pickup on that? And he's like, well, we gotta use a big truck. Whatever.
Because of the snow.
So I mean, that's all I'm saying, is that I don't think, like, we wouldn't have a problem with the town putting a turnaround there. I don't think whoever was gonna buy it, if you allow the subdivision, would either, because they're both living right there anyway in the same neighborhood. So anything that benefits that neighborhood is probably gonna be okay.
So essentially, if you grant that, now you're giving the town an easement for a turnaround on that piece of property.
We've done turnaround at dead end streets before, two
Right.
turnarounds. This came up at like 3:00 this afternoon. So,
I mean, I can't make that decision, that would.
Sure.
That would be upon the owner / buyer.
Well, yeah, I don't.
Well, the other issue is you're not proposing any improvements to this lot. All you are is creating a building lot. You're not putting a road in, you're not putting a driveway in, you're not doing any
Locating a
grading or
house.
drainage.
I mean,
There has to be a driveway, right?
That's
Yeah.
the thing. So if you put a driveway out right here, it's not gonna do anything to encumber clearing this road as it's typically cleared.
It could come up when whoever they decide to develop this lot, when they go in for a driveway permit, the highway superintendent has the right to say, I need a place to turn around. And it could be done at the permit level.
Are we,
Because Mike's got to issue a permit.
He signs off on all the driveway permits, yeah. Yeah, we just administer them, but he has to sign off on them.
now we're doing a waiver?
This is a waiver
It's a
application.
waiver.
They don't have to do a house location? Or-
No, I mean, the board's, as I understand, the board's practices show that a driveway could be put in with highway permit approval, highway department approval, curb cut. And, if, health department, if it's needed, then, get that before you get your building permit usually, right? But, no, I think that
I think
when there's no specific house proposed, I've seen in the past that the board has said, well, just satisfy us that you're gonna be able to access the lot and that you will be able to build on it and where the setbacks are and that kind of thing, and that's essentially it.
Yeah, typically, the topography of the site kind of drives that.
Yeah.
Looks like it's a difficult site, we'll ask for more information to make sure that's a buildable lot that's accessible.
Right, and then I've seen in other situations where, the applicant has said, well, I'm gonna share a driveway on the lot that I'm keeping, but the board has still said, no, you need to show us a driveway on that lot in case there's a dispute, and then they have access. And then if you do end up building on it, you gotta get a curb cut format for that, just a curb cut permit, just so that the board knows that when it's creating a lot, it's creating a lot that's actually built.
I thought we had, we would need a house location and a driveway prove that it's buildable,
You know,
but I don't
I,
know if that's not realty, it's what he's.
This is a non-resident
it hasn't been my experience out here in Brunswick is not nearly as thorough as Andy's, but my recollection is that you don't always require showing the building location on a waiver application. You just kind of show that it's buildable. And if there's any questions in that regard, there's conditions or, map changes to show where things will be. But other than that,
Yeah, I recall asking you about the topography on that site. What the contours are kind of like in there. You thought you told me that it's pretty gently sloped until it gets to a certain point.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's flat coming off of Wraith Road, and then once you get near this back property line, then it does start to roll.
Well, the highway department has the discretion to negotiate a turnaround during the process. Is that possible?
I'm not comfortable saying that they are in a position to do that. Certainly they have curb cut authority, but, the standards that they apply, that can't be arbitrary, there's gotta be some reason for it. So, I do think that if the board's inclined to move forward on the application tonight and to approve it, it would be appropriate to impose a condition that a curb cut permit be approved by the highway department, but not necessarily include in that condition that there has to be a turnaround. I would not recommend at this level with this record yet to require a turnaround there by this board in any fashion.
Well, my only point was that when he goes in for permit, the highway superintendent.
Yep.
At that time,
Right.
could request it. Whether he gets it or not, I'm not sure, but it's not really something we want to put in the condition.
Right. So, before the board moves forward, just so that you'd have to deal with seeker first. So if you want to move forward, it would be a motion on presumably a negative declaration under seeker. And if you want to take action, it would be, presumably action on the application. And if it's approval, a condition for a curb cut permit for a driveway. But again, I do think we should allow the applicant, if the applicant wants a full board, to have a full board available, because the applicant will need 4 votes in favor of approval. But I think the board should at least, the board can act if it wants to tonight. But, it would not be unusual to allow the applicant to decide whether they want the full board or not here when action's taken.
My client would like to request to put under full board.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else got any questions or
Anything else?
so we're not, for a waiver, he doesn't have to locate a house or a driveway?
Not for a waiver. If there's special, extenuating circumstances,
Usually we have
such as
to
grade or
make-
something like that.
They put it on the plat, house location and the driveway to prove that when they go to sell it, that you can put a house on it. You may not like where the house is approved to go, you need to move it.
Yeah, I think there's nothing that prevents you from asking them to show where a house could be located. But I think with an understanding that really the building envelope is anywhere within the setbacks, but
I was up there and generally when you picked it as the terrain, tall trees. You're gonna be building into the side of the hill.
Number 10 just went in.
Depends on how far back they go.
Number 10 just went in.
Down in
Last year.
here this is all flat. This whole area right here is flat. And like she said, number 10 on Ridge Road.
Which is number
Just last year.
Number 10 is the lot on Ridge Road, but 10 Ridge Road, that was just built last year.
Last
So
year.
it's further down.
It would be next door to the one we're trying to sell.
It's 2020. Actually,
So we'll put you on the agenda for first meeting in April.
Okay, just before we end, does anybody else have any questions or concerns, anything else they want to see prior to the next meeting?
This would require road septic.
It will, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
April 6th, Dan.
April 6th.
Next meeting, April 6th.
Answer your ask. We need new maps with
And topos and provides the ag. Sorry, the savings.
just for the record, you're Anthony Grant.
The original guy, John, was Dan Peters, 2 E's in Peters,
Okay.
Peeters.
So you have 400 feet in either direction, is that what that's from?
Yes. I think it's greater than.
Yeah, I was just looking at, yeah.
contour.
Yeah, requirement is for a minimum of 10-foot contours for minor subdivision. So it looks like the meets that requirement. What's the speed limit on that road?
It's 30.
30. So site distance requirements, I believe, less, probably it's right around 350 feet for a 30-mile-an-hour road. So site distance requirements exceeds what's required.
We're doing a non-realty, so we don't do outside. Just buy the building. If it was a regular one, you would need it. It would be a condition to approve it.
But they showed conceptually where a house well and septic would go. don't see setback lines.
It's R40,
R40,
so 50, 25, 25,
A40.
A40. Setbacks are the same.
So the house might be in the setback, let's see, that was 100 foot scale.
Yeah. So he's 25 on that side, which
Looks like it might
so he's just
might
got
be
it.
okay, just like right on the line.
So he's just got it there. Doesn't be very far to the site plan.
Yeah. Chuck made sure. Within the setback.
Anything else?
Well, this counts as his first time before the board. I'd like to have at least a couple weeks to review.
We have to, and do you have enough information to set a public hearing? 3 weeks?
It appears so. Contours, it's got all the topographic features.
Not know what you want.
Well, like I said, I'd like to have some time to review it.
Wait, do you need time to review it to determine completeness or for the,
No, for adherence to the subdivision regs.
okay?
Can we set a public hearing for 3 weeks?
I mean, for a minor subdivision, appears to be complete. Public want to review this and comment on it, I think there's enough information for them to do so. Plus, the public hearing wouldn't be in 2 weeks, right? It'd be
3 weeks.
3. So there's plenty of time for you to review it prior to the public hearing.
So timing wise, in order to have the public hearing on the 6th, the notice would have to be to the paper by this upcoming Tuesday, so 4 or 5 days from now. So if you're comfortable that it's complete enough to set the public hearing, you can certainly do that. If you want to give a little more time to review, then the public hearing will necessarily have to be scheduled for the next meeting in April.
20th.
So it's
I mean,
really,
that's typically what we do, we move it out to
Because
the
of
meeting after next because of the timing.
this time, we don't have to do that.
You don't have to because you got an extra week in March. It appears to be complete to me.
okay. So the board can certainly schedule the public hearing if it wants to. If it's in a position to do so now, now's the time to do it. You know,
I don't see any reason to wait for the 20th of April. Unless somebody on the board has objection to that. We'll schedule it for the 6th of April.
The other thing is that if Wayne does notice something between now and the public hearing and it requires some adjustment, you can keep the public hearing open if you need to the 20th.
All right, so we'll set the public hearing for April 6th. 7.5.
You want those setback?
I'd like to see the setbacks on the lot.
So I would require, as a condition, well, you can't really require as a condition because we gotta get the notice in. Just require that the applicant submit a revised plat that shows the setbacks as well. 10 days before the public hearing.
You understand what he means by setback?
It's just another line on
You can only build within
Yeah.
25 feet on the sides, and 50 feet on the front.
And 50 feet on the rear.
Put a line
the,
around it.
yeah, you can have that.
So 10 days before, 10 days before the public hearing would be 6 in April and then 29, 28. So by March 28th, submit a revised plat to the building department that shows the setbacks on there as well. When that's received by the building department, send confirmation of that to the board, so that they know that it's in.
You don't have to wait for it. You can do it
Okay, yeah.
as soon as you get it done.
But yeah, you can send it in tomorrow, that would be preferable.
There's one thing on here that's just bugging the heck out of me. This Patricia Ann Doyle is not, has a typo on it.
No, Doyle.
Doyle. Did you correct that? Doyle. It's the joiner. Doyle with his home.
Right below your parcel.
I look at the map and this person they see every time.
Anthony, right down here. They spelled Doyle wrong.
Okay.
L-E, not A-L. Doyle. Doyle.
Unless you change the spelling of the last name. I don't know.
All right. Thank you.
So do we have to make a motion?
It doesn't hurt to schedule a public hearing with a motion, so can you, make a motion and second to schedule a public hearing for April 6th at 7 p.m. with the applicant to submit a map with the setback shown on or before March 28th. You can just say so moved.
So moved.
Second,
I'll say,
All in favor?
all right.
All right, you got a new business?
Should be a packet with ground mount solar in there. Going back to the other business, Andrew, when do you need the mailing list by? You can get the public notice out, that's not a problem, but I gotta get the mailing list to you, so.
the same, well, I guess it would be, the 10 days would be the 28th, right? 10 days before the public hearing, is that the requirement? All right, so before the 28th, so that they can go out. Certainly the same deal, the sooner the better, I suppose.
Yeah, I try to, but sometimes things get in the way.
Okay. I know you guys have moved on to new business. There was one thing that I would like to address on the riser application, if I could. And then also on the Blue Sky Tower application, if I could. Just very briefly. Okay. So first on riser, that parcel at issue that he's looking for a lot line adjustment on is part of an overall larger series of lots that is currently the subject of a civil proceeding involving a number of potential other interested parties that may have eventually an interest in the title of that parcel, as well as all of the other lots that are there. So just to bring the board up to speed, there was a court-appointed referee that determined to sell all of that property as one single parcel. The referee's report has not yet been accepted by the court, hasn't been confirmed yet, so it's not going to be sold as one parcel yet. But a motion has been made to accept that report and to actually move to a sale of that at a foreclosure proceeding. including the lot that he's looking to adjust. Mr. Reiser, in that proceeding, has made a motion to have the court reject the referee's report, which would result in potentially a different referee's report or the court deciding to sell the lots in individual lots. So the lot line adjustment could impact the parties' rights in that case if the referee's report is not accepted by the court and there's a determination to sell them as individual lots, because you're then reducing the size of one of the lots, and there may be a different way that the sale occurs. So we've discussed the planning board's role or non-role in that litigation. And we've concluded at our office that it's a good idea to alert the parties in that case. The town of Brunswick is a party in that case, not the planning board, but the town is a named party. To alert the other parties in that case that may have an interest in this lot line adjustment, just to let everybody know that there's been an application filed, so that the town is not in a position of inadvertently altering rights that may occur in the next 30, 60 days without realizing it. Let them know about it. If they want to comment on it, they can. If they don't want to comment, they can. If they want to oppose action on some legal basis, they can inform us what that is. At least we'll then have given them an opportunity to know about it and to be heard if they want to be heard. So our suggestion is that the board authorize us to notify the parties in that case that an application has been filed on that property. So if you're willing to do that, I would ask for a motion that's acted upon to do that.
There's only one house on that property, right?
There's one, well, I think there's only one house. There are 12 or 13 lots, maybe?
13 including the house lot.
Right, and the house lot right now is, I think it's maybe like 70 acres,
78.
and the lot line adjustment would change it to 17. And so, without getting into too much detail, this is all public information. It's all on the court docket. Anybody can look it up. Mr. Reiser in prior pleadings has said that the house has a value that is sufficient to exceed the amount that would be due in the case to kind of redeem, the property before it's sold at a foreclosure sale. And so there may be some effort on the part of him to change the way the sale is done to retain some of those lots, but we don't know how that impacts other parties. So, I just have a little concern about the town of Brunswick, who is a party in the case, taking action while that case is pending without the other parties knowing it.
But I think you said it didn't sell any lots, right? So little lots
Right.
are sold,
Right, yeah, so all of that entire parcel, which is the 12 lots, plus the house lot, plus another lot, I believe.
Behind that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of those lots are subject of the foreclosure proceeding. There's also another lot even further back that was subject of that proceeding, but is no longer subject of the proceeding because the court decided it wasn't ripe for foreclosure yet. So, but this essentially the subdivision that you approved a few years ago, whenever it was, kind of that whole area is the subject of that proceeding.
So you're notifying the owners of the subdivision, essentially, is what you're saying.
Well, there's a number of parties where we would be notifying the parties in the case, because it's only those parties that might have an interest in the title of the property down the road or in the sale. So that would include not just, Mr. Reiser would be notified also,
Sure.
oddly enough, but there's an entity that he formed. There's a couple of lien holders. I believe his former wife may be involved in the case, a number of parties. Rensselaer County would be notified because they're a party in the case. That would be our approach.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So, passed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then if I could, can I?
Blue Sky?
Blue Sky Towers, Blue Sky Tower. So the applicant has taken the position that this is an eligible facility under the Telecommunications Act, entitling it to a certain process and review. We're just in the process of gathering some additional information on whether this does constitute or qualify as an eligible facility. That will impact your review if it is an eligible facility or if it's not an eligible facility. So knowing that is important. The issue, though, is that if it's an eligible facility, then the board has to act within 60 days of submission of the application, which I believe was the end of February.
February 28th.
Because this is a special use permit amendment, there's a mandatory public hearing. So if we wait until April 6th to schedule a public hearing, we won't be able to get notice in the paper in time to hold the public hearing and have the board act before the second meeting in April, which is the last regular meeting before the end of the 60-day period. So we've gone over this with the applicant's attorney, and he understands kind of where things are at. Not sure how the applicants are going to respond to our request for additional information, but that's going to go out in writing. We're going to ask for what we need to help to determine whether or not it's an eligible facility. But our suggestion is that the board schedule a special meeting either for March 23rd or March 30th, which is either next Thursday or the following Thursday. And there's a little bit of a caveat to that also. March 23rd is only a week away. So the request, I don't believe the request has gone out for the additional information yet. So it doesn't give the applicant a ton of time to get it back to us in time to be able to schedule a public hearing, decide whether or not it's eligible facility or not, and schedule the public hearing. So it's a little bit of a tight time frame to do it next Thursday. The problem with the 30th is that the applicant's lawyer, who would be representing the application, is not able to be physically present that night. He is willing that he's going to be out of town. He's going to be in Florida. He is willing, though, to appear either by Zoom or by phone, which we can do. What we've done in the past in other towns that I've represented where someone can't attend and they don't have the setup for a screen with Zoom and everything else, is we literally put him on a speakerphone, put him next to a microphone so that everybody can hear what he's saying and he can hear what the board is saying. So that's doable, but that's kind of the hiccup on scheduling it for the 30th. That gives us enough time to get the information and make a determination on whether it's an eligible facility or not, but the applicant's lawyer is going to be remote if that's the date that's set. And we do think it's important to set a date because that would be the date to set a public hearing if it's an eligible facility to be held out April 20th so that the board can act within the time frames.
What if it's not an eligible facility, where does it go from there?
If it's not an eligible facility, that's something that I think, quite frankly, would make sense if we talk about that more as a full board in a attorney-client privilege session to discuss that.
What are the chances of you getting the information you require back in time to make any judgment by us on the 23rd or the 30th?
The 23rd, the chances are less likely. By
But
the
do you-
30th, more likely. I don't know.
But-
I mean, we may get a response from the applicant that is, maybe they don't want to provide it for some reason, or maybe they provide the wrong thing or something. I have no idea how it's going to play out. I know that Andy has spoken with their lawyer about the information that we need and why we need it. So he's aware of it, but I don't think the written request has gone out yet. And I don't know how quickly they'll be able to get that information turned around. I don't believe the request is extensive. I think it's specific. I think it particularizes one particular document that we want to see. So it shouldn't be too much to turn around, but
I don't have a problem with it. I think doing that, I don't see an issue.
I checked my social schedule on it.
do
Do you need a motion to set the special?
yeah, let's do a motion.
Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to have a special meeting on the 30th of March,
I'll second it.
7 PM.
7 p.m.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So that was 4-0, right? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
That's it. No other,
What was that record?
That's one of the business, right?
What's that?
Yeah, that's a business.
Yeah, Brown Solar on Smithville.
I haven't even looked at that.
You haven't even looked at it?
Haven't even looked at it. I understand the gentleman wanted to, put it on his roof and didn't have enough roof area. Setting it on the ground. Gonna have a heck of a lot of line loss. 300 foot of trench. And he's just doing that so he doesn't have to see him.
You know the new white houses with the pond?
That's 68 Smith Hill. Let's look at it.
Well, this is like how,
Yeah.
that would be that how, but that's not.
Hold on here.
Yeah, you were right. The adjoining is Hal.
What's that?
The adjoiner is Hal in that flag lot. Up at 168. There you can see 168. The field is gonna be down there.
This is,
And that's Hal.
that's the one that's wants to put it in.
Yeah, you can see he's got the lines all the way down here.
It's already got solar. Never have that. I think there's a solar array already on the property.
That's next to that house, that house?
It's, yeah, there's a big field in front of that,
Yeah.
and then you go to the bottom, you go through the hedgerow, and then there's, it's like a narrow field there. I think right along the upper edge of that field. there's solar. Get you zoom in.
It's a lot easier to do it that way.
We cut the hay in there last couple of years.
He's got one panel there, he's just going to, well, did you see, yeah, there was a drawing that showed it. Residence here.
looks like there might be one here, right? That, what's that right there?
Yeah, I think there's, might be a couple in there.
They're looking 40 by 16 with the size of the array.
It's secluded, and there's nobody can really see them.
No, what you saw 'cause it was cut, right?
What's that?
The only way you saw it because you were cut hay in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it on here, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I can almost pretty clearly make it out.
Right under the red line
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
right in the, under the trees almost.
right.
See what the loss was for turning up the line.
Yeah.
Just gotta make sure it meets the rear setback. You know, and that's pretty undiscernible in the middle of a field as to where that line is.
Well, I think that's no good. Anything else?
Now, I'll make a note to check the rear setback on that. And, that was the only thing we had for new business.
You guys are done before we start? I know, we're going back. You have to pay. When Dalby's opening up?
I heard, I haven't confirmed this, but beginning of April. The floor is done. So now it's just a matter of racking and stacking.
Somebody said Target's going in behind Jennifer?
That's what it is this week. Last week it was Lowe's.
It was doing pretty well for a while, and I think the timing's off now.
Something's off, because it's terrible right now. You know what, try to drive down that Hannaford from 7 going west. You're going right at those cars coming out.
Yeah.
They just do that whole corner. You're up on that curve, or it ain't right.
For the tractor trailers to head west and coming out on Ward, they've got to get way over into the left-hand lane to be able to make that swing.
You already had one bad accident intersection, right? I got to get that pole out.
Yeah, there's, I guess, 3 so far.
Yeah, at least 3.
I can't imagine anyone being able to gain enough speed to do that.
I don't know how, it was a one-car deal, and he just ran right into the pole.
Into the pole.
Yeah.
Did the timing light change? I mean, 'cause it was,
They can.
it's noticeably different every time.
So next meeting, Dave, agenda, we've got
It's like
the
sometimes,
public hearing for grab at 7 o'clock, right? Then-
Goes right through.
yeah.
Ridge Road's coming back.
Yep, and then Ridge Road's coming back, and
It just never makes sense.
I was gonna say,
Because over time, because they're not coordinated signals.
yeah, that's gonna have to be, we'll have to do we'll do the ground mount solar after that, 168 Smith Hill.
And then the agenda for the special meeting is only blue sky.
And that's gonna be it for the 30th, yeah, 3:30. Let us know if they don't get back to us, in time.
Yeah, I think, Jared Lusk, I think is the attorney's name, he's aware of, kind of the time constraints, obviously, and also the request, so, they should be, some response should be had at the time, I hope.
Can you get the seeker done in that timeframe?
We will, that's
Another issue.
another issue.
Really?
What was that?
Getting the seeker done.
I
I think the bottom line is it's a done deal with the public, whether we have a public hearing or not. If it's an eligible facility, there's not a doggone thing we can do about it.
Well, we're looking to determine what it is, whether it's an eligible facility or not.
I'll tell you on May 1st. April 28th or whatever, 61.
We had to close the meeting yet.
Make a motion to close the meeting?
Second, I could keep going, I'll get overtime.
It's only 7:01.
We didn't even get started yet.
I know. Started and finished
I
at the
thought I
same
saw
time.
Jeff fixing the
Yeah, I did. I
clock.
finished, I did the minute hand and not the hour hand.
The 1 minute meeting.
So that was a motion, got a second,
Second.